We're live, Rob.
Yippee! How many is this? Is this the second one? I
It
can't
is,
remember.
yeah. Is it the second one? Yeah, it's the second live stream, isn't it? Of this new format. It's not a new format because it's the same thing, but we're just doing it live rather than pre-recorded. Yeah, I'm not ready for this at all. Just to preempt what on earth comes out of my mouth. I got in at 2 a.m. this morning thanks to a delayed flight back to Heathrow, and I've had about 4 hours sleep. And it was a very long day yesterday as well, so I'm not really with it, which will either make this amazing or horrendous.
Yeah, it should be fun, shouldn't it?
It should be, shouldn't it? And we've
Oh,
got about 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a short one, isn't it? Oh, and there's just so much cool stuff that's happened, so we need to rattle through quickly. So,
We can.
Where were you? Germany.
Germany again, Berlin again, for Xiaomi. It was for the Xiaomi 14. Well, it's for the Xiaomi 14T smartphone launch, and a robot vacuum, and a 100-inch TV, and a smart band, and what else did they launch? Some new colours for their watch, and there's something else which I've forgotten. What was that? That might have been it actually. Oh, and they mentioned a hypercar as well, because this is Xiaomi and they do lots of varying things. But yeah, I was there for a couple of days. The first Xiaomi thing, in fact, the first Xiaomi phone I've ever properly used, this 14T, certainly the first one I've reviewed. And it's a very interesting little device, which I've just realised I've left at home. Awesome.
Marvellous.
So there's
Have
that.
you,
There.
yeah, have you been wearing a Pixel watch recently? I'm sure I've seen I don't know, in your vlogs or something. It looked
No.
like... You not?
No, it wasn't the Apple Watch, was it? Which
Well,
I know
no.
isn't circular, but from a
Yeah.
distance, maybe you might have seen it flash or something. No, I've not. I've not got the Pixel. Which one is it? The 3 now? Is it? Is it the 3? Haven't got the 3. No, I've been wearing this and what else? The Huawei GT5 and the GT Ultimate.
Righto. Well, should we get the Apple stuff out of the way?
Let's talk about Apple.
Because they get an F from me on this year's releases scorecard.
An F. Oh. Well, well, firstly, just to I suppose put some context around this, I don't know what you've bought because I've barely been on Discord recently because I've been so busy. But so yeah, I don't know what you've done, if you've bought anything, if you haven't bought anything. What's happened?
Well, I got the iPhone 16 Pro Max because I was excited about the camera control. Because you know, I'm right into my shutter button, so I got this recently, didn't I, for the 15 Pro Max, and I took it away on holiday, and I enjoyed having a physical shutter button so much that I was like, right, I reckon that's probably worth it.
Yep.
Isn't worth it at all, is it? Camera control is rubbish.
Utterly ridiculous. I'm trying to get my case off. So I've not reviewed this phone yet. I've just done like an unboxing / first impressions thing of it. But I will be doing a proper sort of 2 week later review soon, and I will be comparing it actually against the S24 Ultra, because I think there's some very interesting comparisons between the two. But no, the initial thoughts about this camera control, I'll tell you what I don't like about it and see if it's the same. I think it might be the same thing for you as well. And it's the most fundamental thing about it is that it's in totally the wrong place. When you shoot it, and I've seen a few people say this on Twitter and stuff, and then immediately get hit with people saying, "Oh yeah, it's not meant for shooting in portrait." No, it's when you're shooting landscape, it's in the wrong place. It should be, and for people that are watching this, my finger immediately goes there. It's not there. It's here, which means you obscure part of the screen as you're taking the photo. And it just doesn't feel right. It just feels really unnatural, and because you have to do that weird half press thing, which is nothing like a half press on a DSLR. They haven't achieved that feat at all, unlike Sony, for instance, who have. You kind of so your fingers in an unnatural position anyway, and then to do the half press thing, it just feels really uncomfortable. And then to double half press, which confused me when I was doing the unboxing, that's even harder. So you just end up doing what you've done for the last 10 years and press the screen.
Yeah. Well, so my issues with it is, first of all, I found it was a bit too twitchy out of the box, but you can go into the accessibility settings and dial that up or down depending on your preference. So I did manage to tune it in to a level of pressure that was, you know, sufficient to not accidentally set it off, but not so much that it, you know, you had to lean on it. So that was my first issue. So straight out of the box, I found that it was a bit twitchy. Second thing is that scrolling between the options seems to be based on velocity rather than distance, i.e., if you swipe your finger slowly, it'll move over 1 notch. If you do it quickly, and depending on how quick it is, it'll move 2, 3, 4 notches. But I found it very difficult to go from, say, the ultra wide lens to the 5x telly in one swipe. You've got to really give it some. And I think it should be based on distance rather than velocity, i.e., if your finger starts at one end and moves to the other, I think that would be sort of, you know, muscle memory. That would be something that you could learn. But the velocity, the way that it responds to velocity, is inconsistent. I couldn't get it on the right setting that I wanted ever, really. It was just really annoying. And the default zoom setting goes through all the digital zooms.
Yeah.
I mean, you can set it to flip between the lenses. I don't want to be going to digital zoom if I can help it. I mean, I might in a push, you know, on the main camera, crop in a bit. But I when you start going from you know, the digital zoom, the digital 2x, i.e. just the sensor crop for the 2x lens, when you start going from that to the 5x, things start getting really ropey. And so if you're swiping away and you land somewhere between 2x and 5x, you're going to get a dreadful picture.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to do. So yeah, so I disagree with that decision. I don't like the way it operates. I don't like where it is. Although I understand that, you know, if you're filming stuff for TikTok, your thumb falls perfect. So if you're doing reels, and the thing is, Mark, is that we're old, and like no one, you know, in the new generation is taking photos in landscape.
Yeah, they don't care about any of this, do they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Even for that, it's a little bit. It could. They can't win really, because it needs to be, for me, a little bit further up. Maybe it's just my thumb, I don't know, but it needs to be a little bit further up for portrait. Just quickly, the other thing that annoys me about it,
I do have sort of weird ET fingers, but you know, it does seem to sit nicely for me in portrait.
fair enough. It's a difficult thing to achieve, I suppose. But the other thing that annoys me is the fact I had this constantly while I was away. So obviously over the last 2 days I've been using this to shoot content, either photos or video or whatever. It doesn't, if it's locked, if the phone's locked. Oh, it did it then. I was going to say it doesn't. It didn't seem to go straight into the camera app. So if it's
no,
not
it doesn't.
That,
so if the phone is asleep,
did it then?
you have to press it twice.
It worked,
so the
then.
display has to be on before, which is kind of good, because otherwise you get a lot of pictures of your pocket. But yeah, there are lots of other phones.
It just seemed to be doing it.
Hang on, if I lock
Maybe it's
my
not.
phone,
Is it doing it? Oh no, because no, sorry, the Face ID.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. No. I think that's a fair trade-off, because otherwise you just get loads of pictures of the inside of your pocket. You know,
fair enough.
Which is no good. What else do I think about camera control? So the 16s have got this new second generation optical image stabilization, which I guess they've sort of tuned to allow for the additional tremor that you're going to get, because you've got this finicky button pressed it. But I found that I get a far higher number of out of focus shots than I do with the 15 Pro Max than I did with the 15 Pro Max. Maybe that's just my DTs, I don't know. But yeah, no, I found that movement adds enough tremor to make things slightly softer than they would be if you just tapped the screen. So yeah, so I think if you want to use a physical button as a shutter button, just use the action button, because it's a bit closer to the edge, I think.
It's better. It is much better placed, isn't it? I mean, I never use the action button at all. It's just like most people, it's just the mute switch. But it's it is roughly where it needs to be, isn't it?
Yeah. That reminds me. Another thing is that the press to hold defaults to video, and there's no way to change that. I would prefer
That is
that
annoying.
if it went to burst. I would use burst much more often than I would use the short video clips.
Yeah, it doesn't start. You have to. So you hold it. I've been caught out by this a few times where you need to hold it for a few seconds before it starts recording.
And keep your finger on. As soon as you take your finger off, it stops recording.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, that's going to be useful. Oh dear. Is it a waste of time? That's the thing that I haven't really. I don't think I've had this phone for long enough to come to terms with that yet, or to make that decision. But for me, it already feels like something I'm not going to use. I've almost already given up on it just because it's immediately irritating out of the box.
Well, I mean, the other issue is that obviously they've, I guess for keeping secrets and whatnot, they didn't want to reveal that too much about the functionality. So all the third-party case manufacturers don't have that sort of sapphire glass window in them, presumably because you probably have to pay Tim some money to license that. But they've all just got varying degrees of horrible cutout in the side, like the Otterbox. I think we looked at the Otterbox case, the really rugged cases. You seen the Otterbox case with the hilarious cutout in it? I mean, that's probably the worst example I've seen, but they're all pretty. I mean, even you work with Andar, don't you?
I haven't for a long time, but obviously I know them. Yeah, I mean, the Banks one. The Banks one have done that.
Yeah,
kind of.
So they all have. They're apart from the Beats cases, which are obviously essentially Apple. They've all got a big cutout, which kind of winds me up a bit. So you're well, depending on how much that bothers you. If you buy an iPhone 16, you might be limited in your choice of case. Because if you want full coverage, you've got to get an Apple one, which is not a bad thing because the Apple ones are pretty hard wearing in my experience. I found that the fit is good and they tend to last. But camera control is a fail. Oh, and it's not even finished, is it? Because you can't half press to focus, which you're supposed to be able to. Yeah, and you can't dismiss it, right? Once you've half pressed to bring the shutter island down. You have to then tap on you either take your finger off for 3 seconds and then it'll disappear of its own accord, or you have to tap on the display and then it'll go away.
Oh, you can't get rid of it. Yeah, with the button you can't get rid of it.
I think it should be one half press to invoke it, and then you do your swiping and you choose your option or whatever, and then another half press to make it go away again, to dismiss it. That's not how it works. So I'm sure they'll fine tune it, but it just feels unfinished.
And fairly unnecessary, I think. On the focus thing, which is weird. This kind of is it press and hold to focus when it eventually arrives? The fact they've held that back is a weird thing, anyway. But I was listening to I think it was John Gruber talk about this, and he said one of the least problematic things with iPhone photography, although you may have just said something slightly different to this, is the fact that it focuses absolutely fine. There's never a point where I think I need to focus before I take the shot. It, generally speaking, grabs the focus pretty nicely. So even when that weirdly withheld feature does arrive, do we need it? I'm not convinced we do.
That's a fair point. The iPhones do tend to just nail the focus. I don't think it's got a problem with the focus. I think it's just that when I press that button, I'm introducing just a little bit of shake.
See what you mean? Yeah.
So it's not that it's not focusing. It's that I can't hold it still enough because I don't know. Need to lay off the Class A's.
We don't do drugs, kids. Very quickly, actually, not on the subject of drugs at all, but I think my video wasn't very good on the previous stream. I think a couple of people in the comments have mentioned that as well. I will fix this. It's the Wi-Fi, I think. So I'm going to run a massive bit of Cat 5 from the router to here for the next one. So that will hopefully fix it. So if I am all sort of... Hopefully I do look terrible on video because you can't see this face. I'm very tired. But that's the reason why. Apologies. I will fix it next time, I promise. Okay, so that's the iPhone 16, is it? Or is there anything else we need to talk about? Have you done any 120 frames per second, 4K doubly digital, HDR 10 plus
I
video.
have, right. So
Shaking your hair?
it was very rainy at the weekend, so I took the girls out to splash in muddy puddles because children love to splash in muddy puddles. They've got their overalls on, got their Gruffalo wellies, which are brilliant. And we went and jumped in muddy puddles, which is the perfect thing to capture in 4K 120. Now, I posted it on Discord to a couple of places and invited people to have a look. And what I didn't tell them was that one of my girls I filmed in 4K 120 using the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and one of them was 1080 120 on the 15 Pro Max, upscaled to 4K.
I thought you were going to say one of them was filmed with a Venice cinema camera. See who can notice the difference.
So I filmed 1080 120 frames per second on the 15 Pro Max because that's the maximum it can do, and I filmed 4K 120 on the 16, and then I used iMovie's magic movie thing. So I just threw all my clips ranging from 10 seconds to 2 minutes. I had about 30 clips, slung it all into iMovie, hit the magic movie button, and it just did me a supercut of all of the splashes. It did a really good job actually. And it found a piece of music that was exactly the right length, and then all I had to do was put a title on, and that was it. So I people who watched it, I asked them if they could tell which of my daughters was filmed in upscale 1080p and which was in 4K, and the answer was no. Of course you can't. So that is a waste of time as well.
It's all just a waste. They've just wasted the last 12 months, haven't they?
Yeah. What else annoyed me? Oh, the cable, the braided cable wasn't color matched like the iPad Pros.
I noticed that. Yeah, it was a shame.
With the iPad Pros, the nice-ish braided cable was color matched. You got the black iPad Pro, you got a black cable. Yep. Not so with the iPhone. That kind of bummed me out.
Obviously, how do they make that decision? I don't quite get that, because I've got the white titanium one, and I wondered if maybe they had done it because mine was white, obviously. But then there's quite a few people in the comments of the video said no, I've got the black one and it's white, and vice versa. I wonder how they make that decision whether or not to color code cables. What's the difference between the iPad and the iPhone, particularly the iPhone Pros? Because shouldn't they have a bit of color coding going on?
Well, the main difference at the moment is that you can install install iOS 18 on an iPhone, but you can't install iPad OS 18 because it bricked a bunch of M4 iPad Pros, didn't it? They had to pull it.
It did, yeah. Good times.
What else annoyed me? I've got some nice things to say later. Don't worry. This is not all going to be a moan, but.
I have as well, actually. Yeah.
I think the reason I'm so bummed is because this is the first time I've managed to get an iPhone on launch day. I don't, as you know, on various times in the past, for whatever reason, I've just failed to get one on launch day, and then it turns up in October or December or something. So I think both the 14 and the 15 I didn't get at launch. So I was excited because I won the iPhone launch day lottery, probably because no one cares, no one's interested this year. But it turned up, and it's the most underwhelming upgrade I've ever experienced. I think, to the point where I'm sending it back.
You're not going to keep it. I don't blame you. I don't know why you'd keep it. If I'm being totally honest,
on principle, really, it's not good enough. So it's the best iPhone they've ever made, right? If you've got a 12 or earlier, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. If you really, really want to ditch the Lightning port and you've got a 13 or 14, there's probably an argument for that as well. But otherwise, it's no. I'm going to send it back just on principle because I don't think they've done good enough.
I think that reveals how hard it is for not just Apple, for any of these brands to make annual upgrades anywhere near worth it. How many other people? I mean, I'm doing it because this is my job, so I get the new one every year. But for everyone else, it doesn't make sense at all. And I guess Apple don't expect people to do that, do they? I mean, they've got all the numbers in terms of how what the cadence is for people upgrading. But for me, it's been a little bit different this time around. And this isn't really. I agree with everything you've said, to be honest. And if I was in your position, I'd be sending it back as well. But the reason I've enjoyed this one slightly more is because I've come back to the iPhone. So I've spent the last however many months it is since February, basically using Samsung devices, which I've really enjoyed. And I do miss them a bit, to be honest, since I've switched back. But having spent all that time away from the iPhone, I've come back to it and I've really enjoyed it. But then I could have come back to the iPhone 14 Pro Max and enjoyed it probably as well. So it's not the 16 Pro Max that I'm really enjoying. It's the coming back to the iPhone, and really, as we probably all guess, is coming back to the ecosystem and all that sort of stuff. For me, it's been a different experience, but purely because I've kind of absconded from the walled garden for so long, relatively speaking.
I mean, there is some interesting stuff about the 16s. So the A18 Pro, we've seen the benchmarks. I know you're not a benchmarks guy, but it's quite an interesting point. Is that it's basically on par with an M1. So the A18 Pro and the Pro 16 phones has got it's basically an M1, which is nuts. Then there's obviously no stickers in the box, and that's just going to be how it is from now on. So I think there were stickers in the 15 Pro Max, weren't there? I think that was the last time we got stickers in an Apple product, because there weren't any with the iPad Pros either. But yeah, so that's it. So, but just a PSA, they do have a supply of them in the Apple Store. So if you really want Apple stickers, you can just ask a genius, can I have some Apple stickers? And they will probably give you some. No, that's it. That's all I've got. No, the battery. The battery life is allegedly noticeably better. I can't say that I had a problem with the 15 Pro Max. That I'm still got like 99% battery health. It easily makes me through. Well, I know we've discussed this before and people don't believe me, but I can get more than a day out of a 15 Pro Max. It used to be I could get 3. I could get into the third day and then I'd have to charge it. But yeah, it's sort of a day and a half now. But I think that additional battery life that you may or may not see with the 16 is not really intended to allow you to use the phone over multiple days, but give you headroom for when Apple Intelligence comes in, because that's going to need a lot of juice, I think.
Yeah, and Apple Intelligence, just very quickly, who okayed those, the Apple employees? Was it the Fifth Avenue one where they were outside chanting, "You say A, I say I," and they had the new Siri colours lighting up the cube above the store? Did you see all that?
I didn't see all the chanting. That sounds horrific, but I quite like the various photos I saw of the cube all lit up.
Yeah, although even that doesn't reflect the product you're spending $1,300 on, because it doesn't do that when you hold down. So someone told me that I don't know how true this is, but in some of the stores they've got the phones that are on display have got the kind of the new Siri, along the outer edge glowing thing. But when you go up to them and press the long press to bring up Siri, it just brings up the normal Siri at the bottom. It's completely kind of fabricated. I'm struggling with the whole marketing thing around the AI, the Apple Intelligence side of things, because we're buying something which is plastered with Apple Intelligence. If you go onto the store, the Apple Store, they've all got, I don't know if it's still the case, but it says Apple Intelligence above the phones that you're choosing to buy, but it's not on it. It just isn't there unless you sign up to the public beta, which isn't, obviously that's not what most people do.
Well, it's going to be even longer before we get it here. So that also played into my thinking about sending this back, is that like the main thing, because it was built from the ground up for Apple Intelligence. So, well, I can't use it. I'm not going to be able to use it for 6 months probably. And then I might as well wait for the 17, which, might be thinner. It might have the tandem OLED technology from the new iPad Pros or something, just something that makes it worth upgrading for.
And also, by the time that because it's beta, is it December we get Apple Intelligence in the UK? But by the time it's made full release, full golden master release, that's probably going to be what? I don't know, March, April, something like that.
They'll roll it out at the spring event, won't they?
Yeah, but at that point, the device that you bought which had Apple Intelligence assigned against it in the during the checkout process, that's now 6 months old. You're 6 months into the ownership of it. It doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know.
Oh, well, there's some other interesting things about the battery in the 16s. So, have you seen the new removal process? You can attach a 9-volt battery to some pins inside. So you dismantle it,
Okay.
and they've got some kind of wacky glue in there that you attach a 9-volt battery to it, and then that heats up, and it makes the removal of the battery easier. And now, the iPhone 16. The iPhone 16 Plus and the iPhone 16 Pro normal size have all got the new battery technology in. But in teardowns, the Pro Max has still got the old battery,
Oh,
which is
interesting.
weird. So who knows why they did that? Yield issues, or maybe it just doesn't need it because of it's physically larger. I don't know, because they made a big thing about this new battery technology, didn't they? Yeah, you don't get it in a Pro Max.
I also saw someone on, I keep calling it Twitter, I'm going to keep calling it Twitter, on Twitter yesterday, say that there's some people suspect that the Pro Max only goes up to 80 hertz on the refresh rate because of the battery life. It's limited based on something to do with possibly what you've just said, the fact it's using the old battery tech. No idea if that's true or not, obviously. I don't know how you'd ever test that, but who knows?
Just speaking of testing things, the iOS 18, once it's done all its indexing and stuff, because obviously whenever you upgrade to a new OS, your battery life is horrific for a little bit, isn't it? And for some people, that reduced battery life may continue because something's gone wrong, and you can get support and they'll sort it out, or you might have to just wipe it and start again. But assuming everything's gone correctly, I've seen a number of battery benchmarks where even year-old 15s running iOS 18, they also get an extra hour's battery life just through optimizations in the OS. So
Nice.
which is not like the 4 to 5 hours that you get with the 16, but that's quite nice. So the final nail in the coffin was the news that Danny Boyle's 28 years later, so the upcoming sequel to the 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and so forth. Obviously, Danny Boyle, superb director. I don't think he's ever made anything I didn't like.
No,
I think he's brilliant.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
And I was very sad when he pulled out of the James Bond. He was signed up to do James Bond, wasn't he? And then there were creative differences. And well, I think everyone's seen No Time to Die now. I'm not going to ruin anyone's life, but the reason he left that, incidentally, do you know why he left the project?
I can't remember.
It's because he wanted to kill James Bond at the end of the film.
Brilliant.
And they said no, and then they did it anyway. So yeah, brilliant. Awesome. So anyway, 28 years later, it's a massive blockbuster film. So $75 million budget. They filmed it on iPhone 15 Pro Maxes.
But I think they spent 75 million on the lenses that were attached to the. Have you seen the images of it? It's hilarious. Huge. It may as well not be an iPhone, but yeah. Although
anyway, the point is, if it's good enough for Danny Boyle, it's good enough for me. So I'm just going to stick with
100%. Yeah. But 28 weeks later, I don't know what that was shot on, but I remember that being. I've not seen it for years, but I remember it being very kind of almost like camcorder. It was very sort of low grade image, I think, from memory.
It was that's because it was developed. It was large parts of that were filmed on a digital camcorder. It was a very good one. It had recently come out. So yeah, Danny, he's got previous in this sort of using technology that's just come out in an artistic and creative way. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing that next year.
I bet they won't be using the camera control button to start shooting. Definitely pressing the screen.
Here's another thing. When I went to set up my return for my iPhone 16, it told me that I was ineligible on both the website and the app. So I had to phone them. I said, "What's going on? This arrived on Friday. I'm trying to return it. This is the Monday now. I'm trying to return it." And you say that I'm ineligible. And they say, "Oh yeah, no, it's a glitch. Don't worry."
Did you have to be put through to Tim? Did he get that high up?
No, I did speak to someone in a UK-based call centre, which was nice. That's a refreshing thing in today's world. But so they said, "Oh no, it's fine. You're within the 14 days. Just make sure you put it back in the box and take it into your Apple store, and we'll sort that out for you." But yeah, I thought that's a little bit odd. Just adding that little bit of friction so that you can't just press the button to return it. You've got to call them.
That's silly, isn't it? Daft. AirPods 4, is it worth very quickly talking about them? You haven't got a pair? Have you got a pair?
I'm still very happy with my Pro 2s, especially with the latest firmware. But I think the only interesting thing I can say about the AirPods 4 is that the case doesn't have MagSafe anymore. It will still attach to an Apple Watch puck, but it hasn't got the magnets in to align it on a MagSafe thing, which it used to.
It's a great case though. It's a lovely. So I've got the ANC version, the noise cancelling version, which I reviewed yesterday. I think it went live, the day before, and they're brilliant. They're such a good option. But I think, as I mentioned in the video, the biggest problem is the fit. Yeah, they have to fit your ears properly. And I'd forgotten actually, because I've been so used, like yourself, I've been so used to having the Pros, which fit perfectly and never fall out. I'd forgotten that the kind of the non-rubber tipped EarPods and AirPods never worked in my left ear. It would always just come loose. And whatever they've done with these new ones, which they've obviously spent a lot of time on them, has made no difference. It still falls out. So for me, they don't work at all.
Well, I think your mileage may vary on that because
100%, yeah.
Pete Matheson is the opposite. So he doesn't get on with the silicone tips. He says that you can't use them in the gym or for running because they just fall out. But these can. And they made a big thing about how they'd... Tim Cook had personally inspected approximately 2 billion ear holes. Because if there's one thing we know about Tim Cook is that he loves to get his otoscope out. And
there's your show title.
So yeah,
I never get to interview Tim Cook.
So they made a big thing about how they'd changed the fit. So I'm disappointed that it hasn't worked for you, but I think it might work for a lot of people.
There is something about the left ear though, because I looked in obviously the comments for that video. There's quite a few people saying, "Oh yeah, they fit." A bit like Pete. People saying, "Oh, I have problems with the Pros, whereas the regular AirPods fit me fine." But there were quite a few people, well, not quite a few, but maybe 3 or 4, saying, "Yeah, my left ear is not working as well." So I think during the Tim's round the world trip of inspecting people's ears. We don't know if he definitely did that, by the way, just can neither confirm or deny. I think he missed out on a few left ears. He didn't come here. So, Tim, next time you're in Warwick, you know where to come. Well, you definitely won't after this chat.
Yeah. Did you
get
the ones with the ANC?
Yeah, I did. Got the ANC version, which I think, if they fit your ears, and I think you can test them. I wasn't sure about this, but a few people kind of put me right in the comments that you can actually test AirPods in the Apple Store. Go and try them first, and if they do fit, and you don't want to spend another £50 on or $50 on AirPods Pro, go for them. They're really good. Just the case, you know what I'm like about headphone cases and earbud cases. It's the best earbud case ever because it's so tiny, and it obviously has wireless charging on the ANC version and the little speaker for finding it and all that sort of stuff. They're just such a good. I think price-wise, I can't think of another pair of earbuds that are the same in terms of competition. You're looking at cheaper kind of below £200. You're looking at cheaper rubber tipped versions which don't come close to what those AirPods 4 can do. They're quite unique, I think.
Yeah, no, they've hit a good section of the market.
The only problem, just very quickly before I forget, is I don't know if you've tried this yet. You know the new shake your head to say no to Siri and nod to say yes. Have you tried that yet?
No.
You have to shake your head way too much. I was doing it in a coffee shop yesterday in Berlin, and I was just doing this all the time. It's interesting because as you do that, you get like a bing and a bong in the left and the right hand side as you're doing it to register, but you have to get about 5 bongs to make it actually register it. So you just sit there on your own doing this, or walking down the street doing that. It needs a bit of tweaking, I think.
It's no good, is it? So I've been a moaning old git so far. But what I also got was the Series 10.
Yeah, what do you think?
It's fantastic. So it's replaced a stainless steel one, and I think that the jet black finish looks every bit as premium. It's just as shiny. How long that finish lasts remains to be seen. But I don't miss the stainless steel. So what I really love about the Series 10 is, it's on budget, because I just can't bring myself to spend more than 400 quid on a smartwatch. And all the stainless steel ones I've had in the past, I've got new old stock in sort of my wonky deal hunting. So I like the fact that it's reasonably priced for a premium looking finish, but it's so light that I forget it's there. Whereas you're very aware of your ultras and your stainless steel, and even your titanium ones are heavier, aren't they? So I like the fact, the thinness is subtle but nice, and the lugs sit lower in the chassis, such that I have had to go up a notch on my sport band. If that makes sense, because where it sits that much closer to the wrist, it's not sitting as proud off the wrist as previous models.
It does sit better.
It sits better. It's more comfortable. It's lighter, and you've got a lovely big screen, which I was previously quite jealous of Mrs. Rob's Ultra because of that lovely big bright screen. It was there. So yeah, if you can live without the dual GPS accuracy and Night Rider mode, I think it's a good option. Oh, and 3-day battery life. Although, does anyone actually get 3-day battery life out of the Ultra? Not really. I mean, it is better, but yeah, I think those are the main things, aren't they? It's just if you don't need that, the thing is, I was going to say, if you don't need the extreme sport capability, but it doesn't even have that, does it? If you want extreme sports capabilities, then you buy a Garmin.
You get a Garmin. You just buy a Garmin by default.
Yeah. So a full 10 out of 10 for the Apple Watch Series 10 from me.
I'm a little bit less enthusiastic. Again, I think it's down to what I've been doing over the last, probably longer than this year. I think it was just sort of December last year that I started wearing different watches. So I've spent a lot of time away from the Apple Watch. I've been to Garmin, Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra, the Huawei stuff, OnePlus. A lot of those watches, in fact all of them, I think, are circular. So that's the thing that I've become very accustomed to over the last few months. I've always preferred circular designs. So when I put this on initially, it was a bit of a disappointment. It felt like a downgrade for some reason. I think particularly because the watches I'd just been wearing were the Watch Ultimate and the Watch GT5, the Huawei, which I really like. I love both of those. So this felt like a weird kind of downgrade in terms of how it looked on my wrist. But I think, again, that's my taste. I quite like big watches. And then the battery life, I'm really annoyed by. I'm constantly charging this thing. I got so used to 7-day battery life on the Huawei stuff and the Garmin stuff as well, that it's a real come down to. I mean, it's on 24% now, and I didn't charge it that long ago. I think it was yesterday at some point. And it's not really done anything since then. I've not done any workouts. I've been on a flight last night and got to bed late and stuff. But that bothers me, because I just think if I look at what I'm getting from the Apple Watch over those other watches, it's nothing really. Okay, it's got the ecosystem time with Apple, obviously, and that is better. It does a lot of things better in that respect. But it doesn't feel any quicker. I don't understand why Apple can't get more battery life out of the Apple Watch. I genuinely don't. Having used the competition, which does the same stuff, I don't understand why. It's it's problematic for me.
I think they expect you to charge it every day. And so are you using the new fast charging puck?
Is it the one that comes with it? That one?
Yeah.
I've been using that. Yeah, the fast charging does help 100%.
Because I just put it on for when I'm doing the morning routine, getting the girls out, brushing my teeth, etc. By the time, because I wear it overnight for the sleep tracking, I find just half an hour while you're getting up and starting your day, and then putting it on before you leave the house, that's enough. That works for me. So I'm not at all unhappy with the battery life. What I'm very happy about is that you now get the same puck. So this is I'm holding up the Apple Watch Ultra puck, which has got sort of a matte metal casing and a braided cable, and then this is the new one. Oh look, it's exactly the same. You get the same puck, which didn't used to be the case. So it used to be that with the Bogo one, you got a horrible plasticky puck. So that was quite nice.
I'm glad
again, it's not colour matched. It's white again, but
It's a great watch. I mean, and like you said, the design is great. It's very light. Again, I'm not that fussed about light watches, but I think a lot of people do like that. I hadn't thought at all about the way it sits on your wrist since you've said that. Yeah, I prefer the fact it doesn't stick out too much.
Yeah.
Display's nice and big.
But
I think for me, I've just become accustomed to other watches, and
yeah, but
again,
the problem is that I think that Apple, they've set this target of, they think that no one's going to be wearing their watch for more than 18 hours a day. So that's why they've really settled on that 18-hour number, haven't they? And I think that they use the amount of power that is necessary to deliver the experience that they want. Because yeah, I mean, I've got what's this? I've got a Galaxy watch here. It's round. You can get 2 days out of it on battery, but that's because it's completely useless, right? And then you got your $2,500 Garmin that you can jump out of a plane with and go on tactical ops, but it doesn't tell the time.
yeah, that did have an issue where it crashed. Completely agree. But what about the Huawei stuff? So like the GT5, for instance, that you get probably 7 days out of that if you're fairly moderate use with it.
Well, the OnePlus watches, because they've got that dual
Exactly.
screen technology. I mean, that's
Yeah.
very cool.
But they
I
both
don't,
feel great.
but
They don't feel any. Yeah.
when you can find an alternative smartwatch that you can bark reminders into and have them go into a specific list, I'll be interested. But until then, it's got to be the Apple Watch for me.
I know. I
I
mean,
don't, why,
I'm gonna.
it shouldn't be difficult. Why is that still not? Well, actually, I haven't tried recently. I might do for reasons that we may or may not have time to get into. But yeah. Still, it's just an integral part of my life, is the ability to hands-free just jot down something that I need to remember to do later, but have it go into a specific list, whether it's my shopping list or it's my errands list or whatever. So I've got just various lists, and I just want to be able to say, "Hey, voice assistant, remind me to such and such in my X list on this day," or whatever, or even not. That's the other problem with a lot of the other ones, is that if you want to do that, they force you to put in a deadline. I don't always want to do that. Sometimes I just want to put something into my inbox, which I will then triage at the end of the week, and then I'll decide at that point when I'm going to do that thing. Yeah, it just.
Yeah, the one thing I will say as well, actually, to be fair, is the fact that since I've been wearing this, every time I look at the watch, it's doing something which I expect it to do, which relates to what the phone is doing. And you don't get that experience if you pair a non-Apple watch with your iPhone, or a non-Samsung watch with a Samsung device. They're although they're very much connected in terms of delivering your notifications, all that sort of stuff. The tie-in between the watch, the Apple Watch, and the iPhone is unmatched, really, and it's very predictable. If I'm playing music or doing something, or I'd completely forgotten what it was like to follow navigations on your watch with a map, completely tied to your phone. Everything's doing the same thing while you're listening to music. Nothing gets interrupted. I did that over the last 2 days in Berlin, and I'd forgotten how good that is. I just got to the coffee shop I'd try to find, and then realised I had to charge my watch. That was the one thing that let that experience down. It was like, it's got 10% battery left. That wouldn't have happened. It's trade-offs. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like you say, they've tuned this thing to do what it needs to do, and it is unmatched, again, because of the ecosystem.
Well, on the subject of the ecosystem, it functions much better as an Apple TV remote now. I don't know if you've tried that.
I've not tried that, no.
So that works really well. So give that a go later. And the biggest thing about the new WatchOS 11 is that you no longer need to hold down the crown button to exit sleep focus. I don't know if that was that ever an annoyance for you? It was a daily annoyance for me.
Yeah. I think I know what you mean, yeah.
I've got my sleep focus set on a schedule, so I go, bedtime reminder, and then I don't know, for whatever reason, I might just want to check something on my watch when I'm in bed. You used to have to press and hold the crown before you could get in. Now you can just press it to get out of that. It's the surprise and delight factor that you don't get with other watches, I find. So, like, have you tried the Reflections watch face?
No, what's that one?
It's sort of shiny, but it's in the accelerometer so that it mimics
nice. Yep.
the light hitting it. It's really nice.
I'll try that.
And yeah, So I mean, yeah. So I mean, you can eke more battery life out of it by doing things like turning off the dynamic, the always on second hand. You don't need that. But this is
There's
so
ways, I know.
they've made a decision that they think that people will be happier by having a moving second hand while the display is out of focus, is asleep, so to speak.
I love that reflections one, by the way.
It's really nice, isn't it?
That is, that's very smart. I like that.
So yeah.
Okay.
I've got one more thing on the Apple Watch. Is that
Yep.
the tiny pod? The little sort of case accessory that turns an Apple Watch into a little iPod. That's been delayed till November, so I won't be able to repurpose this until later in the year. Oh, here's another thing: the cellular models of the Apple Watch Series 10 don't have the red ring on. So I don't know if you remember the
yeah.
cellular ones always used to have a red ring to indicate that they had the mobile capability. That doesn't appear to be the case this time round.
I wonder why. How weird. Must be a reason. Sequoia. I said it right first time, I think. macOS Sequoia. I think I'm going to put my neck out and say this contains one of the best things that Apple has done for a very long time. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Phone mirroring?
Yeah, it's not the new screensaver. Although, what is the new screen? You've put new screensaver here. Is there a new flyover?
There's a really nice horizontally panning woodland scene with what I assume are redwoods. I'm not a tree expert, but yeah, I think they're redwoods. But yeah, there's just a really nice sort of parallax effect where you've just got all of the trees moving. You have to select it. I think if you've upgraded from Sonoma, whatever your selected screensaver was, it will keep that. So if you go in and you find the new one, it's very pleasing. That's all.
Nice. I'll keep an eye out for that. I love those screensavers. No, going back to my favourite thing for the last few years, it's iPhone mirroring. I can't believe how useful this is. So for people who don't know, if you upgrade to iOS 18 and macOS Sequoia, you can basically bring up your iPhone on your Mac and interact with it. It locks the iPhone so no one can use it. And yeah, you can interact with it as you would do as though it was in your hand. It's not perfect. I mean, you've put here in the notes that there's, it does cause duplicate notifications because the notifications come through macOS for your phone, and they seem to carry on coming through even if you've closed the iPhone mirroring app, which is a bit weird. The other thing I can't seem to do with it is bring down the notification center or bring down the control center. You can't do that.
You can't do that. I mean, you can bring up Spotlight, and you can. Okay. What else can you do? You can bring up the application switcher, but yeah, you can't bring down the notifications drawer. And the reason that I know that is because before this I was going to set up some screen sharing so that I could show you my favorite feature in iOS 18, which is the fact that you can customize Control Center with stupid things like this.
Amazing. So for people who aren't watching,
it supports multi-touch. He says because everything's mirrored.
Yeah, so Rob's basically set up these for people. Although you should be watching it on YouTube now because you can see our faces, but if you're not watching it, Rob's basically set up a control center screen where all of the controls are screen brightness, 18 screen brightness option. No, but going back to iPhone mirroring, you can't use the camera either, can you? So you can't pick up your phone, which again must be a reason for that, but they'll iron this stuff out. There's a few things they need to do, but the principle of it, the ability, because when I first saw it was it during WWDC when they unveiled it and Craig did his little demo, I thought, okay, that's pretty cool, but would I really use that? Actually, yeah, I'm using it constantly. Just no need to pick up the phone. I can go into WhatsApp if I'm replying to messages. If I'm doing social posts, I can very quickly do an airdrop. Can't drag and drop stuff between it. I can't drag and drop images and things. I thought you could do that. Wasn't that in Craig's demo?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll come, but that's not a thing currently, which is interesting because other companies' takes on this, because this is, again, I mean, it's new to us Apple ecosystem folks, but it's been out. Like you've got like the Honor Magic Ring ecosystem. If you've got an Honor phone and an Honor laptop and an Honor tablet, you can view and interact with or control any device from any other device. Yeah. So you can mirror your phone on your tablet, or you can mirror your tablet on your on a laptop or anything, and you can drag and drop everything between everything. So yeah, I think Honor have actually won up to Apple in that respect.
Oh yeah, they're not first to it at all, but the way they've implemented it so far has been very good. It
Yeah,
feels a
it's
bit
fine, it's
first
good.
gen in ways, but I just think in terms, with all the stuff we've talked about today, that is still my favourite thing that I've been using over the last week or so. I'm really, really finding it very, very handy.
Yeah, and particularly if you've like misplaced your phone because you
Yeah,
put it down somewhere or you left it in the kitchen or something, and yeah, you just the ability to use your phone from not your phone from somewhere else is fantastic, and it works really well. What I wasn't expecting was that it will accept scrolly wheel input from your mouse. So if you've got like a stack of widgets, you can use your scrolly wheel on your mouse and you can scroll
nice.
through them. That's quite nice. And also
Like that.
horizontal scroll. If you've got a horizontal scrolly wheel on an MX or whatever, then you can swipe between home pages.
Didn't know that. That's very nice. Okay, Rob, we are getting to the point where, because I've got to go and do some filming in a minute,
Yeah.
because it's still mad kind of iPhone season stuff. I need to compare the iPhone 16 Pro Max against the S24 Ultra, which would be interesting. There's a lot of stuff still on here, which
Oh
I
yeah,
appreciate we're not going to get anywhere near that.
we just got stuck on Apple stuff, haven't we? But there's so much cool stuff that's happened in the last week. We'll get into it next time.
There is. Let's do it next time. The only other thing I was thinking about is possibly developing a wallpaper app. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that. Is it worth me doing that?
I think it's a brilliant idea. I should definitely charge 35 quid a month or something for it.
35 quid a month. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And no free tier. What about data collect? Is it worth kind of asking for people's data and stuff like that?
I would collect all the data because people love that.
They do. Oh, I thought there might be a bit of backlash about that. Okay, I'll do that then. I wasn't sure whether to do this or not, but I think it feels like a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. So next time I'll have my wallpaper app ready. Okay, guys, we haven't done any audience interaction at all.
Before you go, can
Yeah.
you just check your Discord? I've sent you 2 photos, right? And
Okay.
actually, let's see if I can bring them up on here as well.
Oh, I like the window snapping in Sequoia as well. I'm quite enjoying that.
It's okay, but I use rectangles. That's
You're a professional window snapper.
I'm a professional window snapper. Hold on, let me see
what she
if
said.
I can.
Okay, yep, got them.
Right, so
I'm gonna have to guess which one's which, aren't I? Which
okay,
phone
so
it
what,
is.
one of those photos was taken on an iPhone 16 Pro Max. One of them was taken on a Magic V3. Which is
Your
which?
daughter doesn't look very happy about these. How many photos did you take before you got these ones? It's like
Oh no,
another
this
one,
this
Dad?
this was completely off the cuff.
Oh, was it? Okay, fair enough.
So hold on, let me see. Hang on. Oh, what's happened here?
I think I know already. Is this between the V3 and the iPhone 16 Pro Max?
Yeah, let me see. So am I sharing my screen now?
You are. Yep.
Have I got? Oh, is there a bunch of StreamYard comments?
That's all right. Yeah, we've got it.
Has it gone now? Right. So you got camera 2
Yep.
and camera 1. Which is which? So she was really cheesed off. So this was at the weekend when we were splashing in muddy puddles, but then it absolutely tipped it down with rain, and she was thoroughly cheesed off that we had to go in. It was too much rain. We had to go in. So that's why she looked so spectacularly annoyed.
I think so. It's between the V3 and the iPhone 16 Pro Max, just to be clear. Yep.
Yeah.
I think go back to the other one. Oh, that's a nice photo. True. I've lost it now. I can only see you.
Oh, I sent it to you on the Discord.
Okay, I'll just reveal for people that are watching which one I think is which. If you can bring it back up. Here we go. So that's one. Also, show me the other one, please. Okay, I think that one is the iPhone 16 Pro Max.
And that one's the
first
V3.
V3. Yeah.
So that's V3.
Yep.
That's 16. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's not a lot in it though, is there?
There's not, but the iPhone 16 Pro Max is slightly less saturated. It's a bit more, slightly more natural. I think natural skin tones and stuff. I think the grass is nowhere near as saturated as the other one. I've noticed the kind of very brief testing I've done with the iPhone this year is it's quite not flat, but it's fairly. If you leave everything standard and don't change any of the color profiles, it's a lot less vibrant, I think, than other phones.
Yeah. Yeah, so only you and Pete Matheson have got that correct. So I put this out on various Discord places, and if you go and look at the actual photo, as I've DM'd it to you on the Discord. If you actually have a look at it, it looks more iPhone-y than it has any right to. It looks like sort of iPhone 14 era photo. You know, like around the time of iPhone 14, Apple really ramped up. They were really aggressive with sharpening, and they boosted the colours, and it sort of annoyed people. And then from the 15 onwards, they've started sort of dialing that back again.
Dialing it back, yeah.
But for a foldable phone, it's a brilliant photo.
V3 is great. Yeah, I know that's on the list. We'll talk about that next week. Next week, whenever we record again. But yeah, the V3 is very good, very good. Not as good as the other one. What did I review this week? The 14T, the Xiaomi 14T with its Leica stuff built into it. Although it doesn't have the optical reach of these other phones.
Is that bendy?
It's not bendy.
It's not bendy.
No.
Of course,
they have got a bendy one. They've got a bendy one. They've got what's it called? A mixed flip, which also has Leica stuff built into it. But no, the one that I've reviewed so far is the 14T, which is a regular phone, but very, very good photos, particularly in low light.
I think for a foldable phone, the Magic V3 is astonishing, because you look at some of the. It's certainly better than the Galaxy Fold 6.
Oh yeah,
and I reckon it stands toe to toe with the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. In fact, it might even be better. It's technically better. It's got two 50 megapixel cameras and a 40 megapixel ultra wide. So the main camera is 50 megapixels. The 3.5 times tele is 50 megapixels, and the ultra wide is 40 megapixels. But they've got much bigger sensors because it's got this honking great camera bump on the back, whereas the Pixel 9 Pro Fold is using the same cameras as the last Fold, and so it's got like sort of 2.5 inch sensor.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Yeah.
Looking at them on the screen, the photos look fine. When you actually, if you crop in at all, you'll see how much Google has had to make up because of the lack of data that's coming from those sensors. So yeah, I think it's certainly they're both crap for video. The iPhones. One thing I will say about the iPhone 16 Pro is it's still the king for video, because it's got no rolling shutters, has it? It's got no kind of
no jittery weirdness,
which just every other phone does. The S24 Ultra, if you're panning across, you get the judder. Why can't anyone else sort this out? It's really annoying.
That's quite a nice thing to end on for Tim, isn't it? Because we've been a little bit disparaging here and there of Apple, and but in the right way. I think we have to pick them up on this stuff. But no, overall, I'm happy to be back with the iPhone. But yeah, stay tuned for my 2-week review next weekend. Right, okay, Rob, I'm going to shoot off and do some more filming and stuff, and we'll talk about all the rest of this stuff next time.
All right, cool.
Thanks for joining us, guys.